Hello students, welcome to the course on Animal Diversity 1 Biology of Non-Chordates, Unit 3. Let's learn the life cycle and pathogenicity of Ascaris lumbricoides. The instructor for this topic is Dr. E. Harini, Head Department of Zoology, St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, Visakhapatnam. The contents are morphology of the adult, life cycle of Ascaris, infection of the new host, and pathogenicity of Ascaris lumbricoides. Learning outcomes. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to describe the complete life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides, including its developmental stages inside and outside the host. Explain how the migration of Ascaris larvae through different organs contributes to its pathogenic effects. Illustrate the clinical manifestations of Ascariasis and link them to the specific stage of the parasite's life cycle. The classification of Ascaris. Kingdom Animalia, phylum Nematoda, class Phasmidia, order Ascaroidea, family Ascaridae, genus Ascaris, species Lumbricoides, and the binomial name is Ascaris lumbricoides. The habit and habitat. Ascaris lumbricoides is one of the most frequently occurring endoparasites of man. It is the largest intestinal nematode to infect humans. The adult worm lives in the small intestine, more commonly in children than of adults, and it grows to a length of more than 30 centimeters, and human is the only natural host and reservoir of infection. Distribution. It is cosmopolitan in distribution, but more prevalent in the tropical countries like India, China, Southeast Asia, etc. It is present in about 25% of human population, and the roundworm infection occurs worldwide. The number of infected persons is estimated to be more than 2 billion. The main epidemic region with prevalence rate of approximately 90% includes countries like Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Coming to the external morphology of Ascaris. The roundworm is round or cylindrical. It is elongated and it is tapering at both the ends. The fresh worms are light yellowish pink in color, which gradually changes to white. The sexes are separate. They are dioecious. The male and the female worms are separate. The adult male measures 15 to 30 centimeters in length, 3 to 4 mm in diameter, and the tail is curved ventrally. The adult female measures 20 to 40 centimeters in length, 2 to 6 mm in diameter, and the tail is straight. It exhibits sexual dimorphism. Running along the entire length of the body, there are 4 longitudinal streaks or lines. One is midventrally situated, one is midventral, and 2 are lateral in position. The excretory pore is situated midventrally, a little behind the mouth, and in females, the genital pore and the anus open separately. The genital pore is situated midventrally about 1/3 distance from the anterior end. The anterior end is rounded, bearing a small terminal triradiate mouth aperture guarded by 3 lips. One is a dorsal lip and the other 2 are ventrolateral, and the lips have minute denticles. The outer surface of each lip bears minute sensory papillae. Near the papillae of each lateral lip is an amphid, and the papillae are tangoreceptors and the amphids are believed to be chemoreceptors. So here you can see one dorsal lip and 2 ventral lips. We have also studied about minute structures called denticles, and these denticles, which are present on the inner margins of the lips, they form a sort of rasping surface. And the body cavity here is a pseudocoelom. The posterior end is rounded in males and straight in females, and the posterior end of males is curved, and a common opening for the digestive and reproductive system, which is the cloaca, is found in the males. At the cloacal aperture of the males, there are 2 spicules or pineal setae which serve for transfer of sperms during copulation. So moving on with the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides. The life cycle of Ascaris is monogenetic, as it involves only one host, and that is man. In the life cycle of Ascaris, there is no secondary host and no intermediate host is also involved. And The infection passes from one man to another by fecal-oral route, and the sexual maturity is attained in about 65 to 70 days, and the fertilization is internal. You can see here the brief life cycle of Ascaris. Copulation and fertilization. The copulation takes place in the small intestine of the host, that is man, where the adult worms reside or live. The male orients its body at right angles to that of the female in such a way that its cloacal aperture opposes the vulva of the female. The pineal ceti of the male help to open the vulva and the sperms are transferred into the vagina, from where they pass on to the proximal ends of the uteri. Fertilization, which is effected by the entry of the sperm into the ova, and after fertilization, the ova undergoes second maturation division. The females produce enormous number of eggs, that is about 20,000 eggs per day, and the sexually mature female produces as many as 2 lakh eggs per day. After fertilization, the eggs get enclosed in a chitinous shell, and these are shed along with the feces in an unembryonated form. These are non-infective and they are also called as the rhabditiform larva or the first stage. In another week's time, the rhabditiform larva undergo first molting in the egg and become the second stage rhabditiform larva, which is capable of infecting a new host. Infection to the new host. Man acquires infection directly by swallowing the infected egg of Ascaris containing the infective second stage rhabditoid larva along with contaminated food and water. When the infected egg reaches the small intestine of the host, by the action of the digestive juices, the eggshell dissolves and the juveniles, which are the second stage of larva, are set free. And these juveniles are about 0.3 to 0.2 mm long and 13 to 15 microns in diameter and have the same structure as adults except for the reproductive organs. The larva starts to bore the epithelium of the host intestine, starting its migration in the host's body. Once it starts migration in the host body, primarily the larva enters the hepatic portal circulation, which carries it to the liver. From the liver, it finally reaches the right side of the heart through the postcaval vein, and from the heart, it is transported to the lung via the pulmonary artery and remains there for a few days and increases in size. In the lungs, the juveniles rupture the blood capillaries, enter the alveoli, where they live for a few days and increase in size, where the second stage larva molt to become the third stage larva. Another molt also takes place after 4 days to become the fourth stage larva, which has grown to a length where it is now 2 to 3 mm in size. Now this fourth stage larva leaves the lung alveoli and makes its way through the bronchioles and bronchus into the trachea, where we call it as secondary migration, and from the trachea it reaches the pharynx, from where it is coughed up and again then swallowed for the second time into the gut or small intestine. In the intestine, it again moults for the fourth time and final mounting takes place to become an adult. So the adult attains sexual maturity within 8 to 10 weeks and the average lifespan in the host is nearly 9 to 12 months. The pathogenicity of Ascaris. The larvae which are migrating, they have wandering habits due to which they may enter the bile or pancreatic ducts, they interfere with the digestion or they may injure the intestine and causes peritonitis. The migrating larvae also cause pathological lesions. The severity of lesion depends upon the sensitivity of the host, the nutritional status of the host and the number of migrating larvae. During migration and molting through the lungs, the larvae may cause acute pneumonia with fatal consequences. Frequently, infection is followed by low-grade fever, cough, anemia, leukocytosis, and eosinophilia. In adults, Ascariasis causes abdominal pain and stunted growth. The adult worms usually cause enteritis through their migration into the vermiform appendix, gallbladder, common bile duct, and may cause inflammation of these structures. The worms also releases toxins which irritates the mucous membrane of the gut, which prevents digestion of proteins by the host, and they may cause general nervousness, delirium, or convulsions. A large number of adult worms also affect the nutritional status of the host by robbing the nutrition, which leads to anemia. A substance is produced by the worm which combines with trypsin, thus interfering in the protein digestion, which leads to protein deficiency. Ascariasis also produces various allergic toxins which manifest fever, conjunctivitis, and irritation. If the infection is severe, the worms obstruct the flow of blood and cause colic pains, abdominal discomfort, vomitings, and nutritional deficiency in the host. Disease caused by Ascaris is commonly called ascariasis, and there's a greater incidence of ascariasis in children than adults. And ascariasis is of two types. One is intestinal ascariasis and the other one is pulmonary ascariasis. So intestinal ascariasis, the symptoms are nausea, vomiting, irregular stool or diarrhea, colicky abdominal pain, abdominal distension, loss of appetite, weight loss, intestinal blockage, which causes severe pain and vomiting, malabsorption of nutrients, growth retardation, visible worms in the stool, growth impairment in children due to malabsorption, heavy worms in children leads to total obstruction of the intestine. Pulmonary ascariasis, the symptoms include transient eosinophilic pneumonitis, bronchospasm, elevated IgE levels, difficulty in breathing, coughing and gagging, wheezing or shortness of breath, aspiration pneumonia which is rare, blood in the mucus, chest discomfort and fever. Prevention or prophylaxis. The worms are usually present in the feces and dirty water. So by maintaining hygiene, we can prevent parasitic infections. The eggs of Ascaris survive 1 to 3 years. So when we use human feces as manure, the eggs present in the fecal matter goes into the vegetables, and from the vegetables, the eggs gets into the human body. Washing vegetables properly, cleaning hands, and consuming properly cooked food reduces the risk of ascariasis. By proper disposal of fecal matter, the infection rate will reduce because if we kill the egg present in the fecal matter, the chances of infections are low. The eggs can be killed by alcohol, and some special chemicals like iodine, acetic acid are also effective in killing the eggs of Ascaris. Soil pollution is also one of the chief source of infection where children usually contract the disease. So observing sanitary habits is very, very important in prophylaxis of ascariasis. So let's summarize. The life cycle of Ascaris begins when fertilized eggs are ingested through contaminated food or water, and inside the human intestine, the eggs hatch into larvae which penetrate the intestinal wall and migrate through the bloodstream to the liver, then heart and the lungs. In the lungs, the larvae mature, they molt, and then they move up to the bronchi and trachea to the throat, where they are coughed up and swallowed again. And then returning to the intestine, they undergo final molting and develop into adult worms. The adults reproduce and the eggs are passed out along with the fecal matter, contaminating the environment and continuing their life cycle. These are the references cited for the discussed topic. Thank you.